In this video we're going to start painting our last abstract subject. We will use it to introduce some of the issues that we will have to deal with when we will start painting representative. As first, we'll start making some preliminary considerations that will lead us to see two different ways to paint representative. In the first, we will paint our subjects using our memories, while in the second, we will paint them using real models. They will also push us to introduce the concept of representative analysis. Here, we're going to see some example and we're going to start making our first representative analysis. And at the end of this video, we will introduce a perception problem that we will have to deal with, mostly on the beginning of our artistic career. To start, we're going to go back to our last painting. Although it looks like a piece of silk, if we compare it with a photo of a real piece of silk, we can see that there are many differences, mostly in the waves distribution and shapes, in the way the light gets reflected, and on the shadows. In our painting, we miss many details that we can actually see in the picture. And this because until now, we have painted using our imagination, and in this specific case, what in our memory it was a piece of silk. We did follow some rule that we gave ourselves when we did analyze a real piece of silk, but we actually haven't used it as a model. In few words, we have painted by memory. Painting by memory, if we want to do a good job, we have to make a very accurate preliminary study of the subject that we want to paint, and try as much as possible to remember all the details. And although we will do our best, probably there will be still something that at the end we will miss and that will make our representation not completely realistic. There is something that no matter if we paint using a model or by memory, we always have to do while we are painting, and it's what we will call the representative analysis. In this analysis, we have to decide how we will represent every single piece of the painting we are working on, turning something real in a bunch of colored stains that we will have to paint on our support using the fundamentals. In few words, we have to decide for each part of the painting what color we're going to use and how we're going to fit it inside the rest of the painting. For example, if that is going to be a uniform area, or we are going to blend it with some other color, if we're going to join it with a sharp border, or we're going to fade it, and eventually what type of fading we are going to do, and so on. If you remember, we have already done something like this on the beginning of our first abstract painting. In that case, it was easy because the subject was abstract, and whatever we decide to do, it was exactly what it was supposed to be. But in a representative painting, this is not going to be so easy. Most of all if we use a model, because we have to analyze it, breaking it in small parts, and for each piece of the model, we have to decide how we're going to represent it. And this is a problem because every good choice we will make, it will go normally unnoticed, while every bad choice it will pop out and it will be perceived as a mistake. It's definitely much easier if we work using a painting as a model because we can see the choices that the artist made before us. This is why as preliminary step we're going to work on this abstract painting, trying as much as possible to make it look exactly like this. The first thing that we have to do is to find out what colors we have to prepare on our palette. So we have to analyze our model. In our case, it's very easy because the whole painting is made with different grades of blue. Fortunately, we already have a palette that we can use for this job. the one that we have prepared mixing different quantities of Prussian blue and zinc and titanium white. We will also need to find a support with the exact dimensions of our model. In this case, we're going to use a 30 by 20 centimeter canvas. Now, as always, we're going to start with a sketch. This time, it's going to be more difficult because we are not free to draw what we want anymore, but we have to make a sketch that somehow is going to help us making our painting. And this is where it starts the representative analysis. It's right now that we have to get an idea on how we're going to paint every single area of our support, interpreting what we see and bringing it down to something that we can do painting uniform areas, blending and fading colors. Then, according with our decisions, we have to draw some lines on the support that will help us representing the area in the way we want it. We're going to start from the top where we have this uniform area with a sharp border with two waves. In this case, it's easy. We're going to draw a line with two waves there. We're going to draw this shape here on the right. It doesn't really look the same, so we're going to adjust it a little bit. Inside, we have two more or less circular figures, one with a sharp border and one with a sharp border on one side and a fading on the other side. We know already that we can do this job drawing simply two circles. So on our support, we're going to draw them one here and one here. We also have a couple of figures here, one with a medium fading length and the other with a sharp border, that we can also represent with a couple of circles. To represent this area, we can start by drawing a couple of irregular shapes, one here, and do the rest on the canvas later. In this area, the things are a little bit more complex because we have many things going on here. And it's probably much easier if we draw a couple of figures, one here, and we do the rest on the canvas later. Let's say that our sketch is complete so that we can start painting. Our representative analysis isn't over because now, piece by piece, we have to analyze our model and decide how we are going to paint it using the fundamentals. As first, we're going to start here from the top. This is easy because we have a uniform area more or less of this color, so we're going to use it to paint this area uniformly. Now, right below things start to be a little bit more difficult because we have this light blue area here that almost turn into a white on this other side. And since we don't have any borderline between them, it means that we have a transition. So we should identify where the fading starts, where it ends, and how it goes to try to make it exactly like we see it in our painting. Once we know how the transition goes, we have to decide how to do it. In this case, we're going to start painting this area with some white, and bit by bit, blending it with some blue, we're going to turn it in the color that we want. And this is how this analysis works. Piece by piece, we have to see what happened on our model, bring it down to something that we can work, and before we start painting, decide what we're going to do. We're going to start working now on this dark uniform shape here. As first, using some Prussian blue, we're going to paint this area right on the border. Before we go on, we're going to paint the two circles using two different types of blue. We're going to complete the area working the borders first, and then blending some white on the left of this circle and fading the other side with the external blue. Once the area is complete, we're going to move on this circle here with a sharp connection with the external light blue. Using this second blue, first we're going to paint uniformly this second circle, and then we're going to fade it with the external white. Now that this area is almost complete, we can notice that it may be too light respect our model. So we're going to blend it with some blue to make it darker, and then we're going to fade it. If we make a mistake, we know what to do. We clean it off and repaint it. Now we're going to start painting this figure here on the right, and then we're going to move on this one here on the left. We're going to start painting this blue line here, and in white this area in the middle and around this figure where we're going to make a transition on the right side. We're going to stop describing what to do now to get at the end of this painting, because it's your turn to continue the representative analysis so that you can complete this painting all by yourself. And this is what this exercise is about, learning how to see what we have in front of us, or in our mind, bring it down to something that we can represent using the fundamentals, and finally paint it. So one piece at a time by yourself, you should get at the end, where we're gonna call also this last abstract painting complete. We're gonna make a couple of considerations now. As first, we're gonna ask ourselves, did we really make an abstract painting here? The answer is no. We actually did our first representative painting, because what we just did, it was representing something real. This painting, which is an abstract painting, it's actually real. It's something that it's right in front of us. And with our painting, we did represent it. We have used this as our first model because also in this case, if we make a mistake at the end, no one will be able to find it. Also, in this painting we have almost all the things that we need to make a real representative painting. And this means that if we are able to complete this exercise, we should be able somehow to complete any representative or figurative subject. The somehow brings us to our last consideration. If we actually go to compare the painting we just did with the original model, we're going to see that although they probably look similar, they are actually very different. And this because our capability to recognize the world around us increases with our knowledge and our memories of that world. In this case, since no one has ever seen this painting before, if we hide it, no one watching our representation can say if we have changed something or eventually made some mistake. But on the other side, if we watch this painting, I'm pretty sure that everybody can say that this is a very bad copy of the Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa that we can see at the Louvre in Paris. And with this last consideration, we have concluded our discussion on the abstract. In the next video, we'll start talking about representative painting, and in particular, we will talk about the painting definition. If you enjoyed this video, we will really appreciate if you could click on like and subscribe to our channel. It will also help us very much if you could leave a comment. Thank you for watching this video and see you in the next one.